and in today's episode, I am going to talk about the link between the ego, mindfulness, and business. So, as a mindfulness coach, understanding the ego and learning to recognize and step away from it was part of my mindfulness coaching training, and I do use my skills in my academy when I work for someone, because I believe that mindfulness is a very useful tool in your everyday life, especially when you run a business. So when we step into entrepreneurship, we often imagine that it's all about strategy, working hard, and visualizing or planning next week's, for example, marketing strategy. But beneath the spreadsheets and marketing strategies, there is a force shaping our decisions every single day, and this is our ego. So the ego is the voice that says, I need to prove myself. What will people think of me? I can't fail. My worth depends on this. Okay. And it's not that the ego is bad. I'm going to look into the ego from a spiritual point of view in a minute. But it's not good either. You know, if you don't balance things out and if you don't sort of learn to step away from it from time to time, it will affect your everyday life and it will affect your business in a negative way. Okay. The ego is not that bad. It's actually protecting us. It wants us to stay safe, to be recognized and feel valuable. But in business, when ego takes over, it can take us into fear, comparison, and burnout. And this is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is the practice of noticing the ego's voice without letting it define us. It's pausing before sending a rushed email, for example. You know, if you received an email, I used to do this many years ago when I worked in a corporation. Before I discovered spirituality, if someone sent me a negative email, I was straight away ready to attack, pretty much. But over time, when I discovered spirituality, I learned to take a step back, take a few deep breaths, and just respond in a short and sweet and positive way. Because by responding to a negative energy with negative energy, you're feeding more a negative energy into the conversation. And also, in my opinion, if the person who sent you the email is a negative person, by replying to his negativity with more negativity, you feeding their energy. And why would you do that? Focus your energy on you. Okay. It's breathing, like I said, before responding to difficult client. It's catching yourself when you're working just to keep up instead of working from inspiration. Hello to whoever is watching me this afternoon. Thank you for joining me. In this way, mindfulness transforms business into more than just a career, because business, it's not running a business is not like working for someone else. It's more than a career. It's personal. Running, when I worked for a corporation, I used to say often to someone who was quite upset with what was going on, it's nothing personal, it's just business. But when you run your own business, it's actually personal, and you need to be aware of your energy and protect it. And recognizing the ego, stepping away from it, is a way of protecting your energy. Yes, as I was saying, mindfulness transforms the business and at some point becomes a spiritual practice. Every pitch, every launch, every tough decision is an opportunity to ask, am I acting from ego from fear or the need to prove myself? Or am I acting from alignment, service, and trust? So, what I talk about, what I teach my students actually is to, when they feel like anxiety is creeping in, before important business decision, or when they run their day-to-day stuff, what I say to them, just take a step back, away from laptop, away from technology and everything, and close your eyes and start breathing and focus your attention into your heart center, and imagine that your heart center is a beautiful lotus flower that is just opening up. So open your heart center. Focus on your heart chakra, not on your ego mind. Okay. So when we quiet the ego and lead with presence, business stops being a battlefield of competition and starts being a canvas of contribution. Okay, because running a business is supposed to be fun. If you're going to feel under pressure and stressed out all the time and trying to comparing yourself with someone else or competing with someone else, you might just go and get another job, normal job. And choosing mindfulness in business often means doing things differently. So what I teach in my academy is not, I don't only teach the practical side of things like sales and marketing and selling yourself and posting certain information to attract your ideal clients. What the main thing we work on with my students is your energy, because you attract what you are at the end of the day. If you are constantly anxious and trying to compete with everybody, and you're feeling overwhelmed as a consequence of this, you're going to attract the wrong clients, if you even attract any clients. Okay. Right, where was I? So like I said, choosing mindfulness in business often means doing things differently. For example, saying no when the world tells you to say yes. Slowing down when everything screams, you have to work, 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 work. Trusting your inner compass instead of only in external metrics. So this is something, again, I teach my students at the academy, is always listen to your inner voice, to your higher self, to intuition, call it whatever you want. When you start a business, when you start telling people that you start a business, very often everybody will try and give you advice. And very often, if you don't take their advice in consideration, they might get offended. And very often we feel bad about it. Right, you need to snap out of it, because if you care so much about what people are going to say about your business, you're not practicing mindfulness, okay? You're not protecting your energy. Which is why one of the things I talk about with my students is the art of saying no. Okay, you don't have to be, nasty about it. Just say no, thank you. Appreciate your advice, but I have already decided what I'm going to do. And I've said this before on my podcast. When I started my first business as a cosmetic formulator, I only had a website because I was told that I needed to have a website, and the same with business cards. The website is no longer live. I had a business email address as well because I was told I had to look professional. The business email address doesn't exist, and also the business cards, I'm sure I've thrown them away years ago. So, and at the time I didn't want to do any of those things. It's because people told me, and I lost a lot of money and I never got my money back. So in your business, don't forget, it's your business. You make the decisions. Whether they're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's your business, your responsibility. Right, so let's move to what is the ego. So I am trying to look at from psychological side point of view and also spiritual point of view. So in psychology, the ego is the part of the mind that balances between desires and morals. It helps you to make rational decisions and function in reality. For example, you might want to eat cake, but your super ego says that's unhealthy. And the ego finds a balance. I'll have a small slice. Okay, that is the ego talking. I often say that the ego is the excuse to make something naughty, like eating cake when you're trying to be healthy. In spirituality, the ego is often seen as the false self, the identity built from labels, fears, and attachments. Okay, it's the voice that says, I am my job, I I am my job, my achievements, my possessions, my failures. Many traditions teach that ego creates separations, me versus others, me versus the world, while the soul or higher self experiences unity. So when you step away from your ego and you focus on your heart center, you prioritize your well-being first, and by not competing with the world, or not trying to prove yourself all the time, or loving yourself and valuing yourself, you are actually stepping away from your ego mind. You're focusing on your heart chakra, and by doing this, you are actually going to remove a lot of negative energy into your life from your life, and you're going to welcome better energy into your life. So spiritual practices like meditation, surrendering, practicing the art of surrender, staying present, journaling. Um, the aim of these practices is to quiet the ego so the deeper self can shine through. Okay, so I personally prefer to look from the spiritual side of things rather than psychological side of things. Um, for me personally, I never advise my students to remove the ego. What I say is step away from it. Your ego is part of you. Why do you want to remove it? So if you feel that the ego is creeping in, like I said earlier, take a step back, few deep breaths, focus on your heart center. If you're a member of the Manifestation Academy for Wordpreneurs Facebook group, there is a free heart chakra meditation on my Facebook group, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute. So, in simple terms, the ego, the ego is the constructed self-image that we believe that we are, and this or society made us to believe that we are. It's not bad, the ego. It helps us navigate the world that we're living in. When it dominates, it can block inner peace, compassion, and true connection. Okay. To be honest, I sometimes probably my ego also takes over. Maybe I don't even realize it. I think it takes over very often when I'm having a conversation with my husband. But I somehow, but I don't see it as a negative thing. I see it as a joke. But eventually, very quickly, actually, I calm myself down. Take a few deep breaths, and I'm just laughing about it. I think I'm just having fun with my husband sometimes. That's all. Right. So, and I just wanted to sort of include, when I was researching the ego, and I was reading through my old notes, I found a useful metaphor. So think of the ego like a pair of sunglasses. It helps filter reality in a certain way, but if you forget you are wearing them, you mistake the tinned view for the whole truth. Okay? So sometimes it's healthy to take off the pink glasses and see the world as it is, because even if we live in a high frequency and we are detached from the matrix, we still live in the real world. We're still in the human form, and I often forget that, but I think it's healthy to remind ourselves that we are still living in human form, and we're still part of the 3D physically. So I'd like to talk about the role of the ego in business, advantages and disadvantages. Oh dear me, there is a storm here. Advantages of ego in business, and please bear in mind everything I talk about is based on my opinion. If you've got different opinion, feel free to share it. I'd love to hear what you think. Advantage of the ego in business. It gives you confidence and drive. The ego can give you the courage to pitch, promote, and put yourself out there. It fuels ambition, the part that says, yes, I can do this, I deserve to be here. Vision and leadership. Ego can help you step into leadership roles and claim authority. It supports this decisiveness, which is vital when guiding a team or making bold moves. Like I said earlier, running your own business is your responsibility and you have to make the tough decisions. Resilience and perseverance. Ego doesn't like to lose. And while this can be tricky, it also means it pushes you to get back after a setback. Okay, so in business, very often there's ups and downs. If you were in a bad way, you will feel really bad, almost punishing yourself if you've lost. But if you were on the good side of the ego, you gonna pick yourself up eventually and just move on. Right, disadvantages of ego in business. Attachment to outcome. This is something I talked about my live on last Saturday. Ego makes you feel tied to your results. Okay, the launch, the likes, the revenue. This creates anxiety and burnout. So one of the things I teach at the Manifestation Academy, and I've also included in my How to Master the Art of Manifesting online courses, to let go of attachments. Because when you are when you have expectations and your expectations are not met, then you would feel disappointed. And when you feel disappointed, this lowers your vibration. And when you're in low vibration, you can't manifest the life you want. It's that simple. There's just a lot of consequences when you are attached to the outcome. Comparison and competition. Ego thrives on better than, less than thinking, which can pull you into jealousy, scarcity, and imposter syndrome. And this is very, very unhealthy for business. I've had that with some of my clients, some of my students. Or why is he or she having more likes than me, and so on and so on. So instead of focusing on other people, focus on you and do your inner work. If you want to succeed in business and your life, work hard on yourself. Resistance to feedback. When ego is too loud, constructive criticism feels like a personal attack, which blocks growth. Okay, when you run a business, when you run an online business, you need to grow thick skin. A lot of people are not going to like you. That's just part of life. That's just the way it is. I've been called names online during lives and so on. I couldn't care less. Life goes on. Your value and the value of your business is not measured by the people who are liking or not liking the things you post online. Fear-based decisions. That's a very bad one. Ego wants safety and validation, so it often chooses short-term wins or people-pleasing instead of long-term aligned growth. Okay. And I have made fear-based decisions in the past that cost me money, time, and never again. So ego isn't something. I think I mentioned it. I think I mentioned this earlier. Ego isn't something to destroy. It's something to understand. It's part of you. Why do you want to remove it? Just learn to recognize it, and step away from it. The key is letting your soul and mindfulness lead, while allowing ego to play its supportive role. Ego can handle the mic, but your higher self should speak the words, okay? Ego can push you onto the stage, but your purpose must guide the message, okay? When ego is balanced, it becomes a tool, giving you presence, resilience, and strength without taking over the wheel of your business journey. And actually, what I just talked about today was a good reminder for me as well, because I never think about the ego, and I don't realize while I was writing my notes yesterday, I didn't realize that the ego has a positive side of things, which we never think about. And I was going to talk about the my Facebook group. So I am going through a rebranding at the moment. The Mindfulness Academy for Workpreneurs will have different name soon. If to find out about what I do, I launched a new course. The course is called How to Master the Art of Manifesting. I will include a link to my website in the description below when I post the video on YouTube later. You're welcome if you are an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, small business owner, or if you want to start a business and you want to leave 9 to 5 life behind. You're welcome to join my Facebook group, join the Manifestation Academy for Workpreneurs, and also you're welcome to enroll into the Manifestation Academy for Workpreneurs. And that's it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching and have an amazing day.